This is our third installment of Coffee Break. And your hosts today are once again Mary and Jeff. And today we're going to be talking about streaming services, but also a little bit top of mind on other subjects as well, just to keep
as they come up.
As they come up.
Yeah, as they do.
Because we wanted you guys to sort of get lost in the conversation and then think about how you feel about all of these services. You've got Paramount, you've got Hulu, you've got Netflix, you've got Prime. I don't even know all the others. Do you have?
There's so many. I mean, Disney Plus.
Disney
That's
Plus.
a big one.
So what happens is, as is the case whenever a company charges your credit card automatically, you don't think about the cost. And so if you were to look at your credit card at the end of the month and take a look at these monthly payments to Disney and Prime and Netflix and Apple and Hulu and Paramount, this has got to be close to $150 for these monthly things, especially if you request the service without advertising, which happens to be the most annoying thing on the planet, because you're watching a movie and then all of a sudden an ad comes on for 30 seconds. That's crazy.
Right, and you're like, I'm paying for the service. What's going on here?
Yeah, so they rope you into buying the service, subscribing to the service at a higher charged rate to avoid the ads. And
unless you're bartering your streaming services with friends and family, which you're not supposed to do.
That's not.
So of course,
Mary, I'm so
I would
surprised.
never do that.
Right.
No one would ever figure out a way to do that.
You can't do that. And
just saying, it's
and
possible.
How about this? I have a son who's dating a woman who is working for Paramount, and I could have borrowed her sign-on.
You don't get a friends and family discount?
Well, I didn't like Paramount until I wanted to watch the latest edition of, Mary, help me out, who jumps off the cliff.
Mission Impossible?
Mission Impossible, the whatever the tagline is, the endangered species or something.
I don't know.
Did you see it?
They all blend in together for me personally, but they are fun.
They are fun.
I didn't see the latest one.
It's incredible. You have to give Tom Cruise.
I mean, that's his thing. That's all he should do.
Yes, that Mission Impossible. Tom Cruise, who is got to be close to 70 years old, doing his own stunts.
He's not 70 years old.
He is close. He's like 60.
You
60.
think so?
But he's ripped.
The
guy is definitely unique because he's still
61 years old.
Wow.
You were spot
61.
on.
So the guy, you could strike a match on him and then watch him take a motorcycle leap off a cliff in Norway. Maybe 10 times they practiced that, and I don't know how many motorcycles they killed, and he came away without a scratch. It's incredible. But we're not here to talk about Tom Cruise.
Now, on top of all these streaming services that you have, do you also have cable TV?
Oh yes, my cable. Well, you see, I'm unique. This is not going to apply to the majority of those that are listening in on this podcast, but I have 10 TVs in my house and I have 10 boxes.
Wait, 10?
10.
Wow.
I might have 11. So those boxes cost like $12 a month, just the box, to have the box in the house. And then all the services, because I got to have everything, cost me $390 a month for Optimum, which is insane. And to spend that, let's just say $400 a month, they have probably the worst service, support service. If one of your channels goes out, or there's kind of, what do they call that? There's interference on the channel and you see the lines and you call them up. They want you to go downstairs and unhook the router, everything, unhook your oil burner, unhook your neighbor's stuff in order to start it over again and see if you have a clean signal. And then when you ask for a representative, a technician to come out, they go, no, we have lots of stuff that we still want to check before we send a technician out. Then you're crying because you're looking at on your phone, it tells you how long you've been on the phone, and it's clearly coming up on 65 minutes, and you don't have time for this. And finally, I have a guy coming tomorrow because I screamed at the woman in India who is in Mumbai, who was my representative on the phone, and I couldn't take it anymore. It was like water torture. It's like listening to Barry Manilow. If you were in a jail cell for 3 months straight, you would just kill yourself. So,
yeah. So now our next ad is from our sponsor, Optimum.
Yeah, Optimum is not likely to support us after that. But
that's fine. We'll go back to the streaming. But I was bringing it up because I feel like that's not something that everybody has anymore because of all these streaming services. But it's kind of like, how do you decide? People who need the sports on as it's happening want the cable still.
That
but now
ESPN.
there's even more. Yeah, now there's the new ESPN one that's come out. So it's very confusing, and it makes you curious what's going to happen down the line
in
with
the
all
next
of these.
Consolidation
Right.
of services. I know it can't keep going like this because
Do
everyone.
they consolidate then into what cable basically is? I don't know.
I would love to see that, but I still think everyone needs basic cable. You need channel 4 and 2 and 7.
Yeah, we like it for the basic news. But now you can get things like Sling TV and where you kind of get to choose limited.
That's from Prime, isn't it? Doesn't Prime? It's a separate thing.
I don't even know anymore. It could be. But it's basically where you kind of curate your cable channels and your streaming.
Well, the people who are listening to this podcast have the same frustrations that we do.
They do.
To some extent, greater or less, but they know what we're talking about. So I think in order to just make this thing more interesting, they would want to know what we think is a good streaming show.
Yeah, what are you watching right now?
Well, I'm watching Deadwind.
I don't know what that is.
See, Deadwind is on Netflix, and it is a show that has the same two actors that were on The Tunnel.
And, yes, which I've told you so many times that I will watch, and I will watch it.
No, you won't.
I will.
No, you won't, because
is that one on Netflix too? No, that's on Prime.
It is on Prime.
Okay.
It is on Prime. But many times I'll make recommendations to you, and you'll say, oh yeah, and it just goes into the void.
I try, but my TV's stuck on Disney Plus. Watching.
Right, you have the kids.
Moana over and over again.
That's true. I forget sometimes because Mary has 2 young children.
So my streaming life is a little bit different, but
yes,
I do want to watch that. That's on my very long list.
So it is. It is the actors. I love these foreign language shows where they have English subtitles. Even though a lot of people don't like that, I find that when you're listening to a foreign language and the subtitles are presented in a not too fast of a manner, and you can follow it, it's really quite engaging because other languages makes your brain like scream like, oh, that's such a unique accent. But the actors in mind are this woman who is Phyla Vitala, P-I-H-L-A Vitala.
Oh, that's pretty.
V-I-T. It is, and she is smoking hot. I cannot tell you, when you watch a show with Phyla Vitala, in the show, The Tunnel, her name is Sophia Carpi. That's her character in The Tunnel. And she's playing off of another detective, her partner, whose name is Lauri Taikanen. I know Lauri sounds like a woman's name, and it's spelled L-A-U-R-I, but it's a guy, really handsome guy. And his name on the show is Sakari. So you have Sophia and Sakari, who are like in the X-Files, there is this sexual tension that is never fulfilled. But he's looking at her that way, and she's looking at him that way, and they're trying to solve a crime, a murder. And in the other show called Dead Wind, they're paired up again. She is still smoking hot. By the way, I looked into Wikipedia for her.
Okay.
And she's 28 years old and has 3 children.
And she's in all these shows.
And she's in all these shows. She's
Wow.
really got quite a life. She's got 3 kids, and she's a mom and a wife and an actress that has to be on set. It's
Wow.
great. It's like you, Mary.
Pretty cool.
You've got all of this
Yes,
that you're
I'm,
juggling, and you're still here in the
I
office.
don't have any streaming shows yet.
No.
But we have this podcast, so
Well, that's true. This podcast has focused us.
We'll get there.
in a way. And the other show, which everyone can identify with, I'm sure everyone has known this show or watched this show or has it on their bucket list to watch, and that's Lincoln Lawyer.
another one that is on my
Another one
list
that you'll
because
never watch, Mary, because
My Jeff told me to watch this.
yeah,
Maybe one
the
day I'll
Lincoln
get
Lawyer.
there.
You have this Hispanic, handsome. I mean, I'm married for 53 years, but if I were predisposed to go to the other side, I would go for this guy in Lincoln Lawyer. Can I say that on the podcast?
Sure.
I can say that, right?
Yeah.
So he's a very handsome guy, very well spoken, and he's a lawyer that always gets in trouble. He fights for the right. He fights for justice. He fights for the man that is underrepresented, poor people, I guess, and he gets in trouble. And he got in trouble once with a judge that, and also he spent so much time in court that he got divorced. And he lost all his money, gave all his money to his ex-wife. Because he realized he was wrong. And sometimes when you get divorced, it's like a tragic embrace. You know you're wrong. It's not you hate the person. It's just you love your job so much that you can't break away from it to devote it to your spouse, which is what he did. And he got divorced, and he had no money, and he lived in his car. This very talented lawyer lived in his Lincoln Continental. So it's
it all comes
called
around. Okay.
the Lincoln Lawyer. And so he is predisposed to drive a Lincoln. He actually has 2 in the show. So he just loves Lincolns. Now, he doesn't need to live in them anymore because he's recovered after the divorce and he's done sort of well, but he takes up these very challenging cases. And one of the women in the show was about to lose her restaurant because a construction company was building an apartment building and prevented people from coming to her restaurant. And he was fighting for her to have access through a road that was one way, and he wanted to make it the other way so people could get to her restaurant. Very complicated. But her name is Neve Campbell.
Oh yes, from Party of Five.
And she is smoking
And
hot.
Scream. Yeah.
Oh, is she from Scream?
Yeah, she was in the original Scream.
I didn't know that. I don't watch Scream because it's so scary.
Oh, I hate scary movies. But when you're in high school or college and you start watching like with your friends those
It's actually
real
fun.
scary movies
Yeah,
now, and
'cause
you're like, I really hate this, but everybody else is watching
right,
it.
I got to watch it. That's interesting. So,
But yeah, good for her. I'm glad that she's.
So she's now the woman. She was the restaurant owner who was kind of put upon by this construction, and now the Lincoln Lawyer comes along. He finds her attractive, but he doesn't allow himself to fall in love with a client, a legal client that he's representing, but she's so hot that he can't stop, so he kisses her, and he realizes it's a bad thing. So he says, I shouldn't have done that, and she said...
And does that take a whole season to get to that point with them, or that's kind of a quick thing? Or
No,
because I assume it's kind of a slow burn, ongoing thing throughout.
Since it's such a well done series, and I, who am I to say that I watch it so carefully? But that scene, the kissing scene, happened in the 4th episode, 20 minutes in.
Okay, cool.
But who's really measuring the time and the? but but I but I but I have to say, relatively early on, he had in order to set him up as a really public-oriented lawyer. They had a couple of clients that he helped that didn't have money to pay before he met Neve Campbell in her restaurant, because he went across the street in order to have something to eat, and there was nobody in the restaurant, and that's when he found out about her problems. Okay. And so, be that as it may, they. I'm not going to tell you the ending.
You're not going to tell everybody the
I'm
ending?
tempted to, but it's wrong. On this podcast,
We'll save that for the spoiler alert episode when we just let you.
Yes,
tell the
we
whole
should
show.
have just a whole 30 minutes of spoiler alerts. And we don't care whether you're disappointed that you now know the ending of Lincoln Lawyer. But let me say this. He was very successful in helping Neve Campbell out, and also going much further in their personal relationship. I know. But the ending will just blow your mind as to how that thing turns out.
All right, I'm going to have to watch this.
Totally. You're watching it and you're going, no, that didn't just happen. And it's just something you've got to watch. It was very well done. So Lincoln Lawyer, and then Dead Wind, and of course The Tunnel.
Yes. All of these still on my list. But I mean, here's case in point why I haven't gotten to those yet, is because we're still watching Schitt's Creek for the first time. Which is a phenomenal show, and we're just savoring it. We're finally on the last season. And it's taken us so long because we just don't want it to end. So we just...
Oh, right.
We can't binge watch it. We just watch one episode every once in a while. Yeah.
I got it.
And it's just such a wonderful show.
I had that same feeling about watching it just one episode a night rather than binging with Breaking Bad.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
That was, to me, the high watermark.
Well, that's kind of an intense one to binge watch,
yes.
too. You can't really watch... You could watch maybe 2 at a time, but...
Yes, but this was a breakout moment for who's the lead there in Breaking Bad.
Oh, gosh.
He's a wonderful actor. And he took a page out in The Hollywood Reporter.
Bryan Cranston.
Bryan Cranston took a page out in The Hollywood Reporter, directed at the director while they were casting this, saying he would be perfect to be the main character in Breaking Bad. He wrote an ad to get the part and ran it in The Hollywood Reporter, to which the director saw the ad and called him in and had him read for it and hired him to do the part. Isn't that a kind of Hollywood lore that, unless I told you here on Coffee Break, you would never know that?
It's the kind of gossip we love on Coffee Break.
Totally. It takes us to a whole nother level of informing our audience, our listening audience, why you should keep listening. We plan this. We don't just sit here and start talking. I've been thinking about this a long time. Yeah,
obviously. But yeah, we're a little bit behind, and then we're also just in the beginning of the first season of The Bear too, which right. So we're a little bit behind, not terribly.
Well, you see, the beginning, the slow burn with The Bear, and for our listening audience, Mary is referring to, I believe it's on Netflix.
The Bear is on Hulu.
The Bear is on Hulu. I was wrong. But The Bear is an actor who is the #1 chef in a New York restaurant. And that, well, he's the chef, but he's the chef at the #1 restaurant, probably in the whole country. And his brother is in Chicago, and his brother dies and leaves him his stupid little sandwich shop in the will. And so the guy, the Bear, goes in to Chicago to check out his family, he has another brother in addition to the one that died, and his extended family, and also to stop in at the sandwich shop. And he gets this feeling that he can make the sandwich shop into something really beautiful and a beautiful restaurant. And he has to convince all the employees who are used to a loosey-goosey, make a sandwich, a brisket sandwich with a bottle of soda and hand it to the guy at the counter or the woman at the counter, and they go out and actually eat the food outside of the little stupid restaurant. It's not even a restaurant, sandwich shop. And you don't even sit in the sandwich shop. You go outside on the street and you eat the brisket and eat the J&J Cola. And so he's looking at that and he says, I want to transform this. So he quits his fancy restaurant in New York City and moves to Chicago. And he then is challenged by getting everybody in that sandwich shop to think at a much higher level. And it becomes so intense because he has to scream and yell and he has to impose his sense of excellence on those people that don't really care about excellence. They just want to get the next brisket sandwich on the counter, and they don't get it. But it happens, and Mary is just starting this show.
Just starting. I think we've only watched 2, maybe 3 episodes. So right in the beginning. But I do love that tension they create with all of the cinematography and the editing. The way they do it is incredible. And then it just makes the comedic moments so much stronger.
Yes. Well, it's the kind of thing that you'd be sorely missing when people talk about streaming, everyone has their... If you didn't see The Bear, or you didn't see The Tunnel, or you didn't see Lincoln Lawyer, you would be missing out on some great TV.
And it's so easy to do that, to miss these shows because there's so many of them.
Well, that's the next thing I want to, and I'm going to ask our listening audience to reach out to us and maybe call us and tell us how you get through this. But you're heading home from work, all right? Put yourself in your car, or you're on a subway, or you're on a bus and you're heading home, and you want to have your dinner, and then you're saying to yourself, this is all taking place in about 6 seconds on the bus, and you're saying, I want to see a really good streaming show tonight. And you can't remember where these shows are playing, Paramount or Hulu or Sling or Disney. You just can't remember. So, and there's no easy way to go find it, but...
You couldn't just Google it.
You could
Yeah, you can
Google, if you did Google Lincoln Lawyer, it would tell you that it was
tell
on.
you what it's streaming on.
Oh yeah? Okay. All right, forget
No, keep going.
Forget what I just said, because so easy to find anything on Google.
We did have a question from a future listener, one of our colleagues here, which is, do you miss the old days when you could buy a box set and know you own it forever, instead of having everything on streaming and you never know if you're going to have it later?
This is what's happening in the world of subscription. I have a dear friend who's a photographer, and when you used to buy software, it was on your computer, and it was on your computer, and that's where it resided, on your computer. Then Intuit, QuickBooks, for instance, or Photoshop, or one of the other InDesign. Mm-hmm. If you're in this business, a lot of you don't know what those things are, but there's software that you used to buy for $600, a hugely expensive thing, and you would work with it all the time on your computer, changing up photos, making them look great, or designing things. If you were in designing, if you're in the design business, you would design brochures and catalogs and so forth, and it was your software. And then what happened is, after 3 or 4 years, Intuit says, we're not going to support this anymore. You're going to have to buy a subscription to this product. And then, which is, now it's at $1,000 a year. And you are forced to get this subscription, and they debit your credit card. Once again, everything is automatic. They debit your credit card, and they promise you this. This is what you didn't get when you had a single piece of software is they're updating it all the time, and you get the updates all the time. So that's a kind of a cool thing. But supposing you're retired and you don't want to get it anymore, and you want to fool around, right? You're retired now. You're not doing it for a business. You don't need QuickBooks. You don't need Photoshop. And you want to play around with your photos. You want to do a little design. Your subscription has expired and you can't use the stupid service. You're like locked in for life until you die. And it's very frustrating the way TV is going that way.
And music.
And music.
That's a
Used
big
to buy
one,
an
too.
album, but I kind of like the way Steve Jobs created, because many times we all bought albums and there was only really 2 songs on the
Right.
album.
Yeah.
He said, you can buy 1 song
Yeah.
now. And sometimes I just do that. Or
Right. I guess you still have the option to do it. But I guess it's harder probably with the software scenario because it is mainly.
Well, the wonderful
subscription.
thing about music is, I once, this is totally an aside, so please forgive me, but a person said, how do you define music? What is music? And your initial reaction is, oh, well, it's a nice song, but that doesn't really answer the question. It's a nice song or this. What is music? And the answer to that question was, this is not my answer. The answer was, it's love in search of a word. And that stuck with me like it was engraved on me, because music is so emotional for the most part, unless you're listening to Cardi B and WAP.
I mean, that's an emotion of sorts.
Well, of sorts. Yeah, yes, that would be. But for the most part, there's something very dramatic about a song that's usually speaking about love or death or.
Sure, you connect with it on a certain level.
Yes,
It
but
stays with you.
But it's love in search of a word. I hope I got that right. But I thought that was a kind of an interesting explanation
Yeah, I like that.
to music. And
Do you think that you would have, I guess, a stronger pull towards owning your music rather than owning your shows and movies like on these services?
Well, I don't think I would love to own the movies rather than the music, because the music is changing all the time, and
That's true.
I don't tend to go back. It's kind of like being a leaf in a current in a stream. You're swept along year after year after year. New artist Taylor Swift is of course the rage, but maybe 5 years ago I wasn't as aware of Taylor Swift as I am today, and I love what she does, and I love who she is as a person. But years ago, because you're listening to an old person, I loved the Kingston Trio. Hang down your head, Tom Dooley, hang down your. That was my song. I don't listen to that anymore, so I don't need it. But I would love to own the Lincoln Lawyer, because when they pull that off of Netflix
true.
or wherever it is, and I want to see another episode of Nev Campbell smoking hot, I can't.
Which they do. They sometimes pull these shows and you don't even realize, and then you go back, which doesn't happen with, streaming music. You can still find whatever you're looking for music-wise. But, I mean, do you find that there are movies and shows that you maybe don't watch anymore but would if you didn't have streaming?
Let's go back to music on TV. You've got with Simon Cowell.
America's Got Talent.
America's
right?
Got Talent, and then and this is where Carrie Underwood was discovered, and all these.
Oh no, is that America's Got
No,
Talent?
it's not.
No,
That's
it's
where
not.
people
That's
do
the other
juggling.
one. But that's also Simon Cowell. But the original one, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Why can't I think of it?
America's got music or something. So, isn't this pathetic? As you're listening out there, you're. I know what you're saying. I'm switching off this podcast. I don't want to hear it anymore because these two people don't understand.
They don't know what they're talking
They don't know what they're talking about. But
American Idol.
okay, like American Idol
were cool.
is in its 20th season, and so many artists have blown through American Idol, and it kind of is formulaic, and I kind of think of it as not as engaging to me as turning on stuff from the Austin City Limits and watching that kind of music being presented rather than as a contest between five people on stage. It's like painful to me.
Do you watch reality TV shows in general?
Well, I can't watch The Bachelorette, and I can't physically look at that. And then I can't.
Why?
One guy kissing 35 women in a span of 24 hours and then giving one a rose. It's like watching the lead up to porn. And I can't. I mean, there's a place for porn, but there's the lead up to that. I find love to be so beautiful, and the lead up to love is a kiss and is caring about somebody. You don't do that with 35 people.
It's not sincere for you. You'd rather watch a rom-com.
Precisely.
Okay, I get that.
And the number one. Oh, we could do a whole podcast on rom-coms.
We could.
We could do. As a matter of fact, I'm going to write that down, ladies and gentlemen.
Another episode to look forward
There's
to.
another episode just on rom-coms because nobody. I'm writing it down, by the way, while I'm talking. Rom-com. Nobody gets into that as much as you've got the number one rom-com couple of. And now, of course, I'm having a problem. But Mary will help me out. The number one rom-com couple
Meg Ryan.
is Meg Ryan, thank you, and
Tom Hanks.
Tom Hanks.
Okay.
Oh, God.
Good. I'm glad we're on the same page.
Oh,
here.
my God.
I wasn't sure if you were going to go with
That's
Julia
where I was
Roberts
going.
and
With
Richard
a book.
Gere.
She's owning a bookstore, and he's a big-time guy, and he falls in
You've
love.
Got Mail. That's
You've Got Mail. Exactly. And then...
and Sleepless in Seattle.
And then also you've got the guy, the British actor who falls in love with.
British actor.
Well, he's in everything. He's in Love Actually. He's
Hugh Grant.
Hugh Grant is
With Julia Roberts.
with Julia Roberts.
Notting Hill. Yeah.
And what was that called?
Notting Hill.
Notting Hill. Oh God, it would have taken me if Mary wasn't
This
so
is great.
smart.
It's like rom-com trivia.
It is. If Mary wasn't
was
so
meant for
smart,
this.
I would have taken another 12 minutes to get to.
I have a lot of useless
Knowledge up there. But that's another rom-com power couple, you know.
Okay.
And
All right.
and
Well, we got to save this for the next.
yeah, okay, we won't go
episode.
into that, but you can
Next
look
episode.
forward to that in our next episode
Absolutely.
of Coffee Break.
Absolutely.
So-
any joke that you have prepared for
No,
us
I'm
today?
not funny today.
All right, I'm glad you gotta admit it when you're
No,
not.
I would be funny if I had planned it.
Okay,
But
that's fine.
thank you.
And now we have to get back. Now we have to get back to work.
Okay, have we gone? Are we 30 minutes? No.
We're great. We're 33 minutes right here.
33 minutes. Okay, this is a wrap, ladies and gentlemen. But look for our next podcast. By the way, we're coming to you, or this was recorded on February 29th, which is Leap Day, February 29th, 2024. But you would have figured that out because
Also, Leap Day is a rom-com. Have you seen that one? Takes place in Ireland.
no.
Okay, you have to watch that one before our next episode.
Leap Day?
Yeah.
Who?
Oh no, leap year. I think
Oh, leap year.
leap year.
Okay.
I think.
I'm going to do that right away.
Yes, leap year.
Leap year. Okay. So you guys, thank you for listening. First of all, we wouldn't have a podcast. Well, we would, but it would be
would.
useless if you guys didn't find this entertaining, which is what we're trying for. And next time is even going to get better because we are so into rom-coms, and so are you if you really are honest with yourself. Wait till you hear what we have for you next. Okay, it's a wrap.